Hi Srini, welcome
Hey,
to the
Dilip.
podcast.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Doing very well. How about you?
Good. I think I've had enough of the snow in the last week in the Netherlands. So looking forward to snowless roads.
Do you like cold weather?
I thought I really liked it when I was back in India because it was very hot.
Yeah.
And I used to live in Coimbatore, and there were like this popular hill stations surrounding Coimbatore. So for any holiday, I used to prefer going there for the cold. But after moving to Europe, yeah, I think as with most of the Europeans, I would prefer to go somewhere sunny now. So yeah, I've seen the other side.
I recognize that. Similar behavior or similar patterns.
Cool. I would love to start with your personal background. Like, where are you from originally? How was your schooling like? And as a kid, if you remember, what did you want to become when you grew up? Like, what were your dreams?
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from a small village in India. So the south part of India, I think around 200 to 250 families living there in that village. So the village was surrounded by a river on three sides, and then there was no transportation facility. If I had to go out of my village, I have to walk 3 kilometers crossing the river and then catch the bus and to go to the nearest town for any medical facility. But the good part is that we had a very good schooling there, so the government schools. So I did my schooling in my village. I come from a middle class family. Like any other middle class family, it is always seen as a job is the most safest bet for a career. So I was also raised up in the similar kind of context that okay, you go to school and then you can get a good job and then you can settle life in the life. But during my schooling, if you ask me, do I really have a passionate job? No, definitely. I was living my life. So 9 to 5 school and then play. But while playing, if I look back now, I think the trades I did during my schooling part has something to take away, something to learn from it. So I reflect back sometimes, right? For example, we used to play with marbles, right? So I was good at that game, right? I win certain marbles, and then the other person will lose everything, and then he wanted to get back them, and then so like, okay, so give me 10 cents and then I'll give you these marbles back, right? So that's the kind of trading mechanism. So I lived my life. I didn't have anything, but the one thing for sure, when I was in the class, when the teacher asked me questions or asked about my homework, then I felt like I should have become a teacher so that I don't need to do the work. that was my sort of feeling, but later on it changed. So after that I moved to a nearby town, and then I studied there my +2, my college. And during the college, it was like a bit of change, right? So my brother and my brother-in-law had business, and I used to support them in the business. So the day-to-day operational part, the olden days, non-digital, semi-digital, whatever the turnover is there from the business on the day, it's in the format of cash, right? So the cash needs to get deposited in the bank, right? One day my brother-in-law asked me to go and deposit this money in the bank. So I visited the bank, and then I saw the cashier in the bank, right, who holds quite a lot of money. I mean, he was surrounded by money, and I was like, I was a young guy, 17 years, and then other side of the counter and depositing money and filling the forms and all of it. I felt like this money owned by this guy. So, right, that is like I want to buy everything and anything. Okay, if I become a bank employee, then I will have unlimited cash with me. I can buy whatever I want. But then I thought, okay, I should become a bank employee, right? And that was my second, hallucination of dream job, I would say. But it went on, right? So there is no as such that I would like to get this job. I was more dynamic and agile, I would say.
Agile, yeah. Okay, we'll come back to agile.
Sure.
And then you started your bachelor's, I guess?
So I did my bachelor's in 1996, 1999. At that point of time, the computer science was introduced in the bachelor's. So I picked up, I think we were the second batch after the course was introduced in the university. So I did my bachelor's in computer science, mathematics and physics. But as for some reason, I was pretty good in computer science. So one of the subjects, like data structures, it was very difficult for a lot of people to understand the concept. It was more on theory, right? So if you do not relate it to your real-time experience, real-life experience, it's difficult to understand the concept. For example, we used to learn about queues, right? So when I read about the queues, I used to think like, when we go to cinema theaters, for example, you stand in a queue for tickets. So whoever is the first one will be out, right? So first in, first out. So I was, in sort of like, okay, when the movie is at 7 o'clock, I used to go at 5 o'clock to stand in the queue that I wanted to be the first one, right? So because I can go out first. So that's the queue. So whenever a theoretical concept comes, if you can relate it to your real life experience, then you can understand pretty well. So that's a sort of learning at a concept level so that you never forget them. It's related. So for some reason, I was good in computer science. So I used to help my classmates and friends with explanation of topics. So then I got back into track. Let me tell you, because in my schooling, I had a setback. So I think when I was 14, I diagnosed with bronchitis asthma.
Oh.
And I was living in my village. There was no transportation facility. There was no advanced medication by then. So almost in every month there was one attack where I could not sleep at all. So the only option to get relief is to travel 2 hours to reach the doctor. And then you get a shot and then you get a relief with breathing. So this was a pattern for 7 years.
Oof.
So one attack in every month, and which led to 1 week of medication. And that was a setback. I felt like, after struggling for a couple of years, I felt like my life is done almost. But that was also, that taught a lot of lessons, sort of resilience, basically, right? So I was using medication, but it was not getting better. It was more of like treating for the problem, but not curing. So the diagnosis is like that. It was not matured. And the doctor said it's a chronic disease. You cannot get rid of it. You have to deal with it in your lifetime. But I had a hope, right? After struggling for 3-4 years, I had a hope that there must be some solution for it. Why not, right? So I need to find out options. So used to speak a lot of people. So that was a necessity, right? So that necessity has changed quite a lot in my way of thinking, my way of approaching. So there was no hesitation to ask for help, right? You reach out to people. I tried all sorts of medication like homeopathy, allopathy, Ayurveda, and then, yoga practicing, etc., etc. But then, of course, I found a solution. I got better. But that taught me a lesson like about the resilience, how to deal with the tough situations or the critical condition. So then my +2 and graduation, I was struggling with my health, but also I was focusing on my studies. It was difficult, but then I did excel in my bachelor's, especially with the computer science. So that boosted my morale as well because I was good at the subject, I was enjoying it. So after that, I have made an attempt to write an entrance exam to get a master's seat in Andhra University. I secured 412 rank out of 3,800 people.
Ooh.
So that was another milestone. Even though I was physically little down, but then morally I was strong. And then I did my master's in computer science. And after my master's, I started my career as a lecturer.
Why the shift, or why the beginning with teaching?
That's a good question. So there was a little bit of frustration as a student. I wanted to become a teacher so that I was on the other side. I can ask questions and then put the people in the trouble. But that was not the reason. So I passed out in 2001. So there was a Y2K issue in the IT industry. Are you familiar with the Y2K issue?
Yeah, I think the only thing I remember is it had something to do with the year 2000, and then the time format used in computers was 2 digits,
Yeah.
but then after 99 it was going to 00, and then people were like, okay, is that 1900 or I think that's what I barely remember.
True.
Would love if you can elaborate on that.
So I came out of university in 2001. I was like any other person. I was expecting a dream job in IT industry with a nice salary, all of it. But the dreams were killed as soon as I came out. So the Y2K problem started, and then the whole IT was under disruption, right? So the industry. So the year was treated as 2-digit. Like for example, from 1900 till 1999. The year is always represented as like 98. For example, that means 1998. When the year 2000 came, the systems started confusing, or let's say it was leading to confusion. You put 2000 as 2-digit zeros, basically. So what does it mean? Is it 1900 or 1800 or 2000? So that was an issue which they didn't predict, because it was for 100 years, right? Because of that, the systems had to, most of the applications, most of the systems had to, recalibrate, let's say, to fix that problem, to change the format. So because of that, it was kind of drop down in the industry, because nobody knows what is going to happen when 2000 year comes. Everybody started fixing the problem rather than developing new applications or features. So for some reason, the IT industry was down. So I had no option to get a job in IT. So then I decided either you sit back, and then try to learn some new technologies in IT industry, and with the hope look for a job, and an opportunity, or you do something else. So for 2 reasons, I preferred to choose something else. So the one reason is it was not clear or certain that when can I secure a job in the IT industry, which means I have to sit somewhere in major cities in India, or get a training and then spend money every month, or you do something else where you can utilize your skills, what you learned in your masters. Then I decided to choose the second path. The only option I had is to work in an engineering college where I can teach the same subjects what I learned, so that I felt like I can go deeper in those subjects. So I built my foundation stronger so that I'll be ready for a job in the IT industry. That's how I started my career.
Awesome. And how long did you work as a teacher, and how did the shift to software industry happen?
So that was between 2001 till 2003.
Okay.
It's around 2.5 years. Well, I was pretty happy, super happy, because there is a quite lot of fulfillment when you share your knowledge. And I remember as a lecturer, a teacher, I used to prepare 4 to 5 hours to teach 1 hour lesson. So I have to think of all the probabilities and the possible scenarios that I need to teach in the classroom, because the next day I had to face 60 students, 60 different brains. It's not about students. So they come with all sorts of tough questions, or they don't understand. So I have to think in those aspects and then prepare, right? So at one point of time I felt like, okay, if I studied like this during my academics, I prepared like this during my academics, I would have been in a top university in the world, right? But that's a late realization, but it's never too late, right? But that was good. I used to teach a lot of subjects, and then I used to have, students used to call me as Java Srinivas, because I used to teach Java lessons 4 or 5 times per day, and became Java Srinivas by then. After around 2003, end of 2003, the IT market was booming again. You know, my classmates who were moved to cities and then indefinitely waiting there to secure their jobs, they started getting the jobs. I remember Yahoo Messenger was the communication channel by then.
Yeah.
I logged in at one point of time, and then all my friends started pinging me, right, those emails, messages. I got a job here, I got a job in this multinational company, etc. My salary by then was around 80 euros per month. And they used to get 250, 300 euros per month.
And this is in India, right? Just for reference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it was almost 3 times higher than my salary. And then I thought, okay, I should find a job there. That's how I started looking into opportunities there. Also, with the disruption, Y2K disruption, the industry shaped into new ways. In the software industry, there was a new job title called as a test engineer.
So can you explain what a test engineer is?
So in the past, the software development, most of the software projects used to fail because the person who is building that software also testing the software. So it's the same mind, same brain. So you're not going to fail your own baby, right? Because your thought process is in the same way. So that's when they separated development from testing, like building from testing. So if you build this product, for example, then you will not test it. I will test it. So as a user or consumer, I'm going to test the product. So I will not think about what you have built. I will think about what I want as a user. So that's the difference. That's why a lot of projects failed, because, or else, let's say, once it is built, they felt like the application or the system was ready and then given to the users. But when the users are really using in the real time, then they saw the defects. They started experiencing the problems. So then they said, okay, we need to test it properly before we give it to end users, right? So that's how the role was created in the industry. So I was a kind of early bird to get that into that kind of role. But again, I started thinking around, like, I should use all the subjects which I taught or which I mastered in my IT job as well. Everybody thought I would become a Java developer because I was teaching Java. But along with the Java, I was also teaching other subjects in the computer science. So then within the testing, again, there are some more subcategories or specialist categories. Then I became a performance test engineer. So what does a performance test engineer do? Let us say you're using a web application. And when you do some actions on the web application, you expect a response within some time, right? For example, when you click a button, you wanted to see the reaction within 1 second or 2 seconds without you realize that there is a reaction. Yeah. So, but the problem with the web applications those days, because of the limited, hardware environment and infrastructure, even there was a client-server applications and web applications, all sorts of applications. So the problem is, with the limited infrastructure, the infrastructure was expensive. When the user threshold is increased, the applications becomes non-responsive. Or you get a slow response, you lose the customer, you lose the user, basically. So the companies wanted to make sure that the performance of the application is good enough under load conditions. So it could be like, I have a retail shop, for example, and my website at a time can be accessed by maximum 10,000 users. So I need to pretend that load and test the application. So there are certain tools available in the market. So I was a bit of specialized. It is not about the testing, but then once you test it, if you find the problems, finding a root cause is the toughest job, because you have all sorts of layers in the application, front end, back end, network, etc. So one must know every layer of the application, so you can isolate where is the problem, and then it leads to a design change, etc. So that is a bit specialized, because one needs to know operating system, one needs to know database, one needs to know back end, front end. So that is exactly what I learned in my lecturer job, in my teaching job. So that's the reason why I choose this job, because I can utilize all my skills.
Awesome. And for how long did you work as an employee in India? And when was your first move to Europe?
It's 2004, around 1 year I worked in India, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I moved to UK in 2005, in August 2005. And then I worked on one major project in UK, which is around one of the retail customers. They have their web shop. So the application was hosted on mainframes, which is still a most reliable infrastructure. But the cost is also relatively very high, right? So then the customer decided that he wanted to move out of mainframes and become a normal web application hosted on cloud or on premises. But their major concern was, okay, on the mainframes it's very reliable, the performance is good, but is it going to be the same on the new environment, right? So that was a concern. So I was invited to UK to handle that part, so the performance testing. So then I moved to UK. I lived there for 4 months.
Okay.
Just finished this project from August to December, and that project was a great success. And it's a sort of, I used to work for a multinational company called Capgemini, and they published the project success story in a global newsletter. And then I got a call from Capgemini Netherlands branch, the same entity, because by then there was a bit of market for the performance test engineering in the Netherlands. So they said, okay, do you want to come here and set up this center of excellence for us? I said, oh, fantastic, that's a good job. It's a very good opportunity. So then I decided to come here. But then I went back, and then I moved to Netherlands in 2006.
Interesting. Before we move on to your experience in Netherlands and Entrepreneur, do you remember what were your first impressions of Netherlands? Or even say England, because that was your first international move, I believe?
Absolutely. I mean, when I got an opportunity abroad, it was more like, okay, see, we all know that two major destinations for us by then. Now it's much more information. One is the States, United States, and the other one is UK, especially London. We used to call it as London. My mother still says, you're working in London, right? She doesn't know Netherlands. So when I got an opportunity in UK, it was normal. Okay, fine, I know the place. I mean, I heard about the place.
Yeah.
I don't know the place. I heard about the place.
Yeah, they ruled us for quite a bit.
Absolutely, and also there were some precedents already there, right? Maybe for years. So some of my friends were also there by then. They studied there, their masters and bachelors. So it was known place. That's okay. But when I went back and then I got a call from Netherlands, then I started looking in the map, where is this Netherlands? I know Amsterdam, I know Holland.
Oh, yeah.
Still a lot of people confuse between Holland and Netherlands. But then when I really need to find it in the maps, I have to zoom in, really zoom in. Okay, this is a small country. But when you start reading facts, I did this. I did read what does Netherlands do basically? What do they produce? What do they make? What is it known for? And then I came to know about the Philips. I mean, at my home, my grandfather was a big fan of Philips products. We used to have Philips radio, Philips lights, Philips, I think even fan as well, right? So the ceiling fan. That was the case. And then I felt, oh, Philips. And then you start digging. I think out of every home in India, 70% of those products then from Hindustan Levers Limited. And then I learned that the parent company of Hindustan Levers Limited is Unilever Limited. It was a Dutch company. And then, go into tulips and all of it. And it was number 2 in making dairy products, creating dairy products. And then, such a small country with 16 million people, but then so much of innovation, so many products. Okay, this is going to be exciting. But then I looked at the weather conditions and all. It is going to be cold, windy, rainy all the time. You don't have 4 seasons, fixed seasons. You will have mixed seasons. It was interesting, but then it was like, let's see, we'll go and then figure it out what will happen there, right? That's the kind of thought process.
Awesome. In Netherlands, for how long did you work as an employee? And at what point did you decide, okay, I'm done working for others, I want to work for myself?
Well, I think even though I was working for a corporate company, I came here to set up a center of excellence, right? So I was, along with another 3 Dutch colleagues, I started a performance test center of excellence within Capgemini.
Just curious, what does Center of Excellence mean?
The Center of Excellence means focused on one particular technical area,
okay,
where they master the tools, required tools in the processes, so that you can handle the work within that space. Okay.
Got it.
So because it's a tools, processes, and getting people up to the speed that they can really do the work. Okay. So I was given 4 other Dutch colleagues, and we had to build that center of excellence, which means, okay, what kind of tools are out there? If we need to handle, a performance engineering of any particular application, right? You have web, you have on-premises, you have RTE emulators, you name it, like different types of applications. But the paracetamol will not work for every other application. So you have to build framework, right? You have to identify tools, you have to identify diagnostic tools. And you need to learn those tools, and then you need to teach those tools to your team and all. So it's setting up a small business altogether. So it's a setting up a center of excellence, but also it has to create a revenue, generate revenue as well. So we used to go to customer. I used to go to customer, like in Netherlands. They say that I have this problem. So you need to go there, you need to understand the problem, you need to propose a solution and execute it to deliver and come out, right? So that's a typical consulting, we call it as. You go to customer for a specific problem to solve, fix the problem and come out, and then go to next customer. So it's a kind of entrepreneurship basically. So you do end to end. There is no one else to do your job. You go, you make a plan, you execute the plan, you deliver what you have executed, and then come out. So there are financials involved, proposals involved. You need to understand the customer culture as well, customer expectations. So quite a lot of learning in that journey. So I used to do small projects like 3 to 6 months maximum, because we go at the tail end of the application development. And then once we give a green signal, then they go to live, right? So that's a kind of pre-production stage where we step in. So there is quite a lot of learning in that process. So from 2006 till 2018, I was in different roles. I worked as an engineer, and then I worked in the management positions like a project management, program management. And later on, I worked in the leadership roles where I had to deal with the people as well and building the competency for the group. So different roles I touched. And every role you work, you have something to learn from it, right? So as an engineer, I still remember whenever, as I said, this is not a repetitive job for me in the performance testing area, where you have to deal with different kind of applications which are built in different technologies. Every day it's a new challenge. It was stressful as well, because I don't know what kind of challenge I will deal with tomorrow. So it is not a repeated problem. But there is a learning. What I built up a habit, right? Once I cracked a complex problem in that space within a remote emulator applications, like in Indian railway systems we see a command prompt with the text and all, but you don't have a graphical user interface. Testing those kind of applications, we call them as headless applications. So it's very complex. Once I solved that kind of application problem, someone else in the organization trying to fix the similar kind of problem, and they somehow got to know that there is somebody else is also working in the similar space, maybe they will help you. So the person reached out to me, and then I shared my solution with him, and he was very happy. Like, it was so happy that he could solve his problem in a very less moment of time. So then I started writing, or let's say I thought, like, I want to share this knowledge with the rest of the community in the company. The initial format was email, weekly email. It's a kind of newsletter. So I used to contribute for that kind of newsletter. And then later on, I think it's from the Google, they introduced a blogger. Then I started writing blogs, purely technical solutions for the problems. I still have that blog. So the blogger also was quite useful. And it helped me to reach out to new people. There is a popular guy in the similar space called Wilson Marr. He lives in US, and he sent a message one day. He was a guru for us. Like, we used to look and read his articles. And then I have written some blogs which are very peculiar. Okay. And then he came across those blogs, and then he sent me a message on LinkedIn. Hey, I would like to have a talk with you. And blah, blah, blah. That was a momentum, like, this is an amazing, because he was a guru in performance test engineering space, and then you get a call from a guru. He saw my contributions. But the takeaway from me, like, the knowledge sharing is a kind of fulfillment for me. Like, you feel happy end of the day that someone else is, able to solve their problems with the knowledge you're sharing. But also at the same time, it helped me to build my network. So I used to get a bit of happiness. I met a new person today. I spoke to a new person today. There was always a conversation, definitely, right? So it is not like one-time transactional part, right? So it's a valued relationship. So that's how I built my network. But in this journey, the lesson for me is that the entrepreneurship is more inclusive in my job, even though I was a corporate employee. So, I say this to myself and also others. It doesn't matter whether you're in a corporate job or whether you're an entrepreneur yourself, but behave like an entrepreneur. Have that curiosity. So if you have that curiosity, it's a mindset. So you will build naturally those things. So until 2018, I was in that, 2017, I was in my job as in different roles. But then in 2017, late 2017, 2018, I started my entrepreneurship journey.
And you started that with Brainbox Consulting.
Correct.
Right? Very curious about why the name Brainbox. What's the short story behind that?
Well, I'm based, both of us, the founders. I have a co-founder as well. We both are kind of living in Eindhoven, which is my home place at this moment, is in the Brainport region in the Netherlands. So the Brainport region is it's called as Silicon Valley of Europe, right? So when we started, we wanted to build the business. You need a name, right? You have to make everything yourself, right? So then the first one is, we need a name. We need an identity. Then I was doing a little bit of research. There is no AI. There was no AI. So
no ChatGPT.
No ChatGPT. You have to use your creative mind part as much as possible. I came up with few names, and then somehow I thought I wanted to, because we are situated in the Brainport region, I wanted to replicate the Brainport somehow in my company name. So that is how the brain came. And then I started thinking about the combinations and okay, out of the box thinking, set of minds, bright minds. Okay, why not we call it as Brainbox? And when I told this name to my partner, he said, it sounds good, something unique, okay, not like standard name. Yeah, that's how the Brainbox came.
Awesome. And when you started Brainbox Consulting, what was the problem that you wanted to solve through Brainbox Consultancy?
Good. As I said, right, in my job, I always kind of curious. Sharing the knowledge, a lot of companies, in the corporate companies also I worked, it's always investment into the tools, investment into the people, consultants, etc. But the original problem is creating a value. As I said, the entrepreneur mindset, it comes like, you need to have a lot of uncertainties around you so that your brain capacity will think a little bit more and it will go beyond and you will find a solution. In my consulting journey also, I had this mindset, and I get frustrated easily when I see people do not take responsibility and they don't show the accountability. They limit themselves because of the structure. Sometimes you are limited to a particular function, but then nobody is structurally limiting you, right? So it is all about you, your mindset, how do you behave. So that was a beautiful part in the consulting journey. Then we thought, okay, we are doing this systematically, the change, right? We are able to create value for the company you're working. Why can't you repeat this as an individual where you have a freedom and you can leverage this to more companies from Brainbox Consulting? That was one part. That was more a frustration part in a good way, right? And then the second part in 2017, by then I was living here for 10 years. There was a big cultural difference between the place where I come from and then the Netherlands or Europe, let's say. So even I worked in UK. That was a very different culture. When I came to Netherlands, it's a different culture again. In the Netherlands, as an engineer, for example, as a junior engineer, if you go to office the day one, probably you feel like nobody's telling me to do anything today. So do I have work really? Okay, no, but you have to find your own work. You have to be very proactive. It happens so natural here, right? Nobody will tell you. So those are the very valuable differences, right? It sounds small, but it's very big and very complex. So then in around 2017-18, by then I was here for 10 years. I learned about the Dutch culture and then the value proposition in the job market here, what is required to be successful in the job market. So going back around 2011, I was looking for a job change. It was not easy for me. I was in a kind of, even though I was in consulting for 6 years by then, living in the Netherlands for 6 years, it was not easy for me. So I had to go through a kind of 3 to 4 months of journey to find my next job. So the reason was I used to work through Capgemini and then work for major projects. And at one point of time, there were no projects and they asked me to go back. But I didn't want to go back. I wanted to live in Netherlands for some more time. And then, okay, I started looking for jobs locally with the local companies. It was difficult. Then I started learning about, okay, what is your approach? And why are you not getting the job here? Right? At one point of time, it was clicking, the clock was clicking. I had to go. There was a limit. I think around, for one company, I applied 42 times. And after 42 times applied to the same company, he invited me for a coffee with a curiosity. He asked me, I I was so curious, why did you apply 42 times for this job? I said, I want to get the job. That's it. So until I find it, I keep on applying it. I did that. So, I mean, not the same job, but different jobs to the same company. And then he was appreciating me for my persistency. And he said, like, yes, Srini, I'm impressed with your work. I'll give you 6 months' time. Go and learn the Dutch language. Come back. I'll hire you. That's what he told me. I said, thank you. I'll try my best to learn the language. It's not easy. But at least I got an invite to sit with you and then have a coffee. That's already first success point for me. So in 17, 18, there was quite a lot of growth in the Netherlands, especially in the software engineering sector and IT as well. And then we know the cultural differences, what is required to be successful in the Netherlands. And then both me and Jay was in the different sort of roles, like management roles, leadership roles, as an engineer. And we know that there are a lot of other pockets across the globe, like in India, South America, and Eastern Europe, that there is quite a lot of talented people out there. So, okay, we can bring the competence here, bringing the knowledge from other parts of the world, and then, provide the same consulting services to the customers. That is how we started, out of good frustration, out of opportunity.
Awesome. Could you talk about how the ecosystem is in the region to support new entrepreneurs? Like, were there any difficulties in setting up the business, finding your initial clients, especially as two immigrant founders?
Well, it's not easy. Well, from the legal perspective, setting up a business is not a difficult part. So the Dutch processes are very strong. You might know the saying, right? The Europe is pretty good at compliance, and right. So with the process, they're very strong. If I want to set up a company, I need to go to KVK. I need to tell them what is my business, the nature of my business, and either a product or services I'm going to offer, and they will help you to fill the form, and then done. Then you go to bank account, and other parts will be done. But building the business is difficult. I mean, at least in India, with the relations you can make business, right? But here, purely the relations will not work. So the credibility will take over the relationships, right? So credibility over the relationship is important. But you don't have any credibility on the day one. You need to build the credibility.
Yeah.
That was tough. It was very tough. But on top of credibility, you have to build trust. The trust builds very slow here. But once it builds, it goes deeper as well. But then you need to be very disciplined, you need to be very consistent, then you can build the trust with your customers. So this is the general challenges in the business itself. On top of it being an immigrant, you do not speak the language, right? So that is an additional complexity which you add to the business. So that is something you need to deal with. That's where we both, by then we established a certain relationship here in the Netherlands with the companies we worked with, the customers we worked as a consultant and as an employee. And we touched upon those network. And we have some good relationship with the people, and then we started speaking to them and started a small opportunity. But then over the period of time, we build our credibility and trust. So that's the most complex part. And also, as I said, setting up the legal entity is not easy, but then maintaining that legal entity is quite heavy. So as I said, the regulatory and compliance, right? When you set up the business, with the corporate, you are given a certain function and you operate in that function itself. And you have others within the organization to support your job. With an entrepreneur, you have a freedom, but at the cost of responsibility. So, for example, you have to build your own company, and then you start with a company name, and then you need to build your contracts, you need to build your compliance, you need to build your legal structure, and you need to build the business. Everything is you have to do that. And it comes with great uncertainty. The first uncertainty is a financial uncertainty. So this is a difficult part for everybody, not only me. And the second uncertainty, right, for example, every day you have a problem. You're never free. You think you're done for today, then you have next problem lining up already. Then there is a quite a lot of, you only hear the problems in all aspects. You will never get an applause for the things you do. If it is silence, it is an applause for you. You realize it later, right? But then being with a hope, you have to keep on trying. You need to be consistent. Then you will find the path slowly. That uncertainty is given. Can I deal with it? It is up to the individuals again, but you have to deal with it. So that's the challenge. That part is challenge, not the legal entity setup.
So the lifestyle of entrepreneur itself
Absolutely.
is...
There are days where, not one day, but multiple, many months and years, we used to work more than 16 hours per day. Does it give you any result on the same day or the next day? No. I mean, you really need to build up. If you're lucky, sometimes you're lucky. There are people who are lucky. It happens next day. So it really depends.
Circling back to the 16 hours a day for work, how do you address, say, the work-life balance as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think in the initial stage, you have to be prepared for that, basically, right? I mean, it was, in my case, at least I was very prepared. It's not a given. I don't have a fixed salary. I don't have a fixed job. I'm on a tiger, riding on a tiger. So if I fall, I will get eaten, right? If I don't fall, I have to still keep my energy high to ride the tiger. So I was prepared for that, and also I prepared with my family that, okay, if I'm going on this path, I have to compromise on a lot of things. So, but given this scenario, which is a kind of my dream, I want to build something. Then, once I become successful, it becomes a little bit calm, right? But that's not the case anyway. Over the period of time, you get a little bit certainty and then clarity, right? So, but initial stage, it was not. I could not predict what I would do tomorrow. So I have to be prepared for everything and anything.
And looking back to the past 7-8 years as an entrepreneur, can you share with us some of the moments which you consider were your top successes and top failures?
That's a good question.
Without going into names, maybe.
Well, as in job, I was almost successful. I never. I mean, at one point of time when I was working in India, a lot of my friends came on bench. Means they don't have any project, but they're sitting in idle. They're
waiting.
Waiting for the next assignment. And I was sort of like, I never had this kind of situation. So I was good in my job. I think I don't know whether it's luck or I was unlucky that I didn't get any bench period so that I could sit and enjoy. But I was always pretty much successful. The reason why, even from my hometown, a lot of my friends and my brother friends will always say that I'm a little bit. I hunt for opportunities. I don't wait for the opportunity. So that was a sort of, I didn't know this by myself. When I look back, I connect the dots, then I understand that this is a kind of personality I have. I think everybody has to have that curiosity. And then you have to be very persistent. You try once, you don't get it, but you try twice,
Again.
try thrice, you will master it. It happened with my health as well. So I struggled for 7 years, and I wanted to find a solution for it. I tried. I tried everything, you name it. Sometimes you not successful, I know that. In some aspects you become successful. So you need to be very persistent. In my job, I was pretty successful. I was happy with the growth I got. But were they fallen for you, or did you try for them, right? Sometimes, if you're lucky, you have a good boss, you'll get things in place. But if you don't have those things, you need to try. You have to pursue the success path, find an opportunity. If there is no opportunity, create an opportunity, right? I'll tell you an example. I was an introvert until my master's, in fact. So in the master's, we had practicals where you need to present something to the rest of the class. So that was the momentum where I was invited in the classroom, and then I was like shaking because I was an introvert. I could not get into the stage and then speak, right? So, but then I understood, I recognized that is my problem. So how do I overcome that problem is my question mark, right? So you have to be shameless sometimes. There were some moments where I went on stage because I just wanted to overcome my problem. So went on stage, speak something, try to host some small events. Then you do these things repeatedly, then you become confident, you overcome the problem. I think that is the kind of natural ability you need to build to overcome any problem. It could be, I cannot fix it for everything, but at least the areas where I would like to fix, you try, right? The biggest success point when I moved to Philips as a group leader, I felt I was interviewed for an architect position, but then because of my combination of management skills, technical skills, they said, why don't you become a group leader, right? So after 4 rounds of interview, they said, probably rather than the architect, you should become a group leader where you will be given multiple people, and you need to, let's say, guide them, motivate them, lead them in the direction where you want it to be, or the business or the company wanted to be. So that was a kind of, I felt like a proud moment for all the work I did. But even one of the projects I became successful when the project I did in UK, which was published in the global newsletter of the company, that was another momentum that I never forget. That's a great moment because I was recognized globally within Capgemini. And of course, when we started the business, Brainbox Consulting, me and Jay, we wanted to build this with a few other friends as well as a community. We were also not sure. We don't know what will happen, right? But when we worked for a couple of years and then we started seeing the results, and when the customers were really giving the feedback that okay, we were happy, that was another success moment for me. Okay, at least the journey we started, we could achieve certain milestones, right? So these are some of the memorable moments. And the most important one, getting the rank in for my master's. It was not easy. So after my bachelor's, I got 451 rank. Even my family was surprised because I was struggling with health. And they never thought that I would get a rank. I got a free seat. That was another success.
Nice. I know this is a bit of a sensitive topic, but could you talk about the valuation of Brainbox Consulting?
I don't know. I don't know the valuation, but roughly, I think we created or we generated revenue in last 2018 till 2025, around 30 million roughly. I don't know the exact numbers.
Euros.
Yeah, 30 million euros. So that was what we created. But then we established a strong relationship and also created a lot of value towards 50 plus customers across the globe, and we could engage with more than 300 plus consultants, both in-house employees, contractors, freelancers, more than 200 projects, small to big. So we look at those kind of value propositions. So what kind of impact we could create, what kind of value we could create with the company, right? With the employment, we could probably give a lot of opportunity for the people. So that gives a lot of happiness rather than the numbers, right, for us. So that was a sort of measure what we look at, right, the values.
I would love to get some perspective on, if you had to give some advice for students who are just getting into their bachelor's, or I don't know, in their bachelor's trying to get into master's, what advice would you give them?
Be curious, I would say. I think either in the education or in the job, right? So probably for the students, I think beyond the books, right? So also looking at the values, discipline. And the one thing which I believed it myself is also persistence. You be consistent and don't just give up as soon as you don't feel like you're getting what you wanted. So you have to be very consistent and persistent. So then you can achieve great things as such. I think you have to have certain moral values as well. Apart from the hard skills, I would say, right, the academics and all, you need to build your soft skills. So the soft skills, as it is out there, I mean, for me, the most struggling part was communication. I studied in Telugu medium until my bachelor's. Master's was in English medium. The transition was very difficult, especially with subjects like physics, mathematics. It was horrible for me. It was so difficult. And also learning the language, because in the IT industry you have to speak in English, right? I mean, the language is in the communication is in English, basically, language. So it was difficult. It is not the language skills, but it is also the communication. What do you need to speak, when and what, right? So that's also important. So I would give equivalent priority to the communication, or let's say the soft skills. So in the soft skills, you have communication skills, business skills as such, ethics, morals. All of the are very, very important in the life. I mean, with the AI now, I mean, I'm wondering, right, the Gen G and Gen Alpha, do they really need to solve a complex mathematical problem? Probably not, right? So they're equipped with the tools. The tools will help them to find the solution. But then, what is your added value when there is a solution out there? That's the soft skills for me.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Srini. Really appreciate your time and the wonderful inputs you have given. Wish you more success for the future.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dilip.